Hello and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and we are here to talk about the updates for Slammiversary. And by God, the card is starting to become stacked. Before we go into too many of the new matches that they have announced, I am going to cover the one slight change that has happened thus far. There might be some more changes, but what have you. We will continue to follow along and try our best to see where we're going. I was going to talk about Mike Santana being added to this to the match with Joe Hendry and Trick Williams in the main event for the TNA title when it was announced, but I was like, nah, probably wait because they're going to announce other stuff as well. So, and again, like I keep saying, we're not a news channel. I'm not, and like again, I've said this a few times. I've got a lot going on my plate, to be honest. Like I said, I have like broken the rules before, or not the rules, but like me saying, hey, I'm not gonna post all the time, and I'm not gonna do this, and I'm not gonna do that, or whatever it is. I'm not trying to be a news channel. I'm not trying to be on top of all the news. I'm not trying to follow it. Or try to give updates or whatever else it is all the time and things like that, because as I've said many times, like as soon as you post something, a few minutes later something else pops up. So I'm sure that something will pop up again, but at the moment I'm just going to take it kind of like if I really want to, or if I feel it's necessary, or week to week, or just the reviews, and that's pretty much it, because it's just like otherwise it is too much. I've got other things that need to be heavily attended to, so yes, I cannot spend time coming on and just and saying, hey, they added Santana, whoa. At this point, I think, like before, I felt like they were going to add more people, but I still think that they might. I don't know, but it just, to me, like at a certain point, you can't keep changing it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep going, oh, we're going to add this person, and we're going to, like, you've got to settle it and say, okay, this is what it's going to be. Like, I was thinking, dude, this is in New York, so I was like starting to think, is this time to put the belt onto Mike Santana and run that way? But the thing is, it's like Trick's only just held he's only held the belt for like a month or whatever it's been. So, like, I don't see him losing it, to be honest. Like, I really don't, because it's like, well, again, he's only just got the damn thing, and I know people might be like, well, we don't want to see him with the belt, and I agree. Really, I don't want to see him with the belt, but it is very much like, well, one of those things of saying I hate the hot potatoing of the title. I don't like it. Even Joe Hendry's run was really, really short when you think about it. And in the sense, again, he didn't really have that many great, like, matches or opponents or whatever else, or feuds or whatever it was during that fairly short run. Like, he had some amazing moments and whatnot. Like, he certainly did some stuff with the belt. Like, he went to the Royal Rumble, faced Randy Orton, but like most of the feuds that he sort of had, well, the only real feud that I can bring to my mind has been the Trick Williams feud. Like, and maybe that's recency bias, I don't know, but again, it's just like, well, I like none of the other rivalries like even like somewhat stack up. They're not rivalries that I would think about, like, or I would remember for the most part, because it's like, oh yeah, whatever. Stuff happened. And then he's here, so, and, I think, immediately, Trick has benefited very much from this, in many ways, because he's already got, a big feud sort of going, or two big feuds sort of going with him coming into Slammiversary. So, and he can kind of keep that ball rolling. I think it's fine to keep the ball rolling, but it's tough, isn't it? It's so tough to keep that thing rolling because, again, I said this before, it's like, well, how long is WWE going to allow Trick Williams to be like, oh, yeah, you can go to TNA, we're not really using you. But yes, no, it's so tough to perspective this, because it's like one of those things that it is a nuisance in some ways, because it's always like, what are the dynamics going in out of the match? Like, who's going to take the fall? Why? What's next? Like I say, it's not just saying, is Trick going to retain? Because, like I said, I think he is probably going to retain, but just because my feeling of saying, well, it's like, he hasn't held it for very long, realistically, and I hate the whole hot potatoing the title. Like, it would feel it's like the right place to kind of put the belt on Santana, but it's one of those things of saying, well, yes, but also, then what are you going to do? You might have a rematch with Trick, I don't know, but again, who's his next opponent? It would be better to, turn somebody heel, potentially, even if it's Santana, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that idea, but again, you've got to find things for him to do, and it feels like he's already gone through the whole locker room. But at the same token, it's like, well, if you don't give him the belt or do something like that with him, it's like, well, what else are you going to do with him until Bound for Glory? But then again, it's the same sort of story after this. If you give him the belt, you're sort of still in the same position. Though there could be a match with Hendry, I don't know. You could put that for Bound for Glory. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough to say, isn't it? But still, that's where we find ourselves right now with this updated match. And I didn't think that me having to say all this would take so long, but it has. Oh, well, there we go. It is what it is. The next update is a new match for the Knockouts title. Tna Slammiversary will be facing NXT's Jacy Jayne or Jordynne Grace in a title v title match. Now, the upcoming Jacy Jayne versus Jordynne Grace match will be happening at Evolution 2. I'm pretty sure that's 2 or 3 nights, something like that, before. Maybe it's one night, I'm not sure. Whatever it is. It's just before it anyway. Maybe it's a week. I don't know. Whatever, I don't really care. So yeah, we'll find out whether Jacy Jayne retains or whether Jordynne Grace wins the belt. It would be really interesting to see, Jordynne Grace beat Jacy Jayne and then have Masha and Grace again. But now it's title for title. I don't know. This one also gets in my gizzard a bit because of the same thing that we were just, talking about for a while with Trick. It's the same sort of idea here with Jacy Jayne holding the Knockouts title. It's there's no winning here for either brand whenever somebody from the other brand wins a title. And 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, you've got to have the heel holding the belt, because otherwise it's sort of very difficult to put somebody... Well, you could have somebody be a heel in one brand and babyface in another, but it's a really hard dichotomy to kind of get right. You've kind of got to have somebody be a heel or be a face, if you know what I mean. It's not really that easy to be a face in one brand and a heel in another brand. So I kind of feel like maybe JC Jane would win the belt, but I really don't want to see that. So, and I don't know, like they just put the number one contendership to Ash by Elegance. So that indicates to me that potentially Marsha would win. But then again, it's like, well, if Marsha has both the belts, like, I don't know, you could have, like, Ash win the NXT title, maybe, but, like, why? If you know what I mean. Like, she could win that belt, and that would make some amount of sense from a booking perspective of saying a heel has their title and yada yada. Here we go with this person being, a dickhead or whatever on their show or whatnot, and that sort of thing, but yeah, like, as far as like the sense that she wouldn't like get the knockouts title or want the knockouts title or whatever it is, doesn't make much sense unless like you put it up in some sort of triple threat rematch of some sort of, or whatever else. I don't know. So I don't know. It's a really tough one to figure out. Like, I feel like, again, I can't even remember, like, JC Jane's just like recently won the belt in from what I remember. And actually JC Jane and Marsha, they had a match like a few months ago. I can't remember exactly when. It was the 27th of March Impact. I thought it was actually a pay-per-view or PLE or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, they had a pretty decent fight there, or pretty decent match there. I think we even talked a little bit about it. But yeah, Marsha beat her in that match. So like, she's already beaten her. Like, so like, you know what I mean? And that was on a TV match. Yes, now she's the champion or whatever else it is. I would think like a match between Jordan and Marsha would be like big stuff, because it's like only like maybe the third or fourth time that they've actually like faced off against each other. But still, like, at a certain point, it is rehashing old ground sort of thing, and the more you kind of do it, the less sort of you kind of get out of some of these things sometimes, and it just wouldn't make much sense. Like, it wouldn't make sense, like, in my opinion, to, again, be hot potatoing the title. But WWE does seem to do that sort of thing. They seem to hot potato the title quite a bit. Yeah, so I don't really know, but still, it's a no-win situation when you have a title v title match. Somebody's going to lose their belt. And like, at this point, like, if Marsha loses the belt to JC Jane, I think that's total BS, because now two people from WWE have beaten TNA people, like, for a major, or for a fairly major title. Like, that's really shit. Like, that is just, and again, like, the booking of this has been like all over the place. Like, if you're gonna do Marsha versus Kelly, okay, let's do that. Or if you're going to plant the seeds to do that, okay, let's do that at some point. And maybe this is why, like, again, like, they wanted this match, or WWE, I should say, wanted this match, and they wanted it to be at Slammiversary. So they were like, well, we've got to have this match. Well, Marsha and Kelly want this match between them before this, and it's like, oh, okay, now we've got to, kind of squish that in between the two shows that were on, which was like really stupid and really shit. And it was also like, well, why, like, if you're gonna have Ash by Elegance win a number one contendership, like, why, you like, what are you doing? Are you, like, you could have done that as well, but, like, now you're putting more things into question than what there should have been. If you had a you have to, I guess you have to have this Knockouts tag team match at Slammiversary. Okay, you could have the Battle Royal after that for the number one contendership, or you could have had said, again, like I said before, that they should have had the Freebird rule for friggin' forever ago, whenever M by Elegance joined the Elegance brand. Now they should have the Freebird rule, where two of them can defend the title no matter who defends it. So, then Ash can go off and do whatever they want her to do. So it's just, again, something else is always getting in the way of these other things, and it's really, really clunky at times and whatnot. And again, this week's episode of TNA, it was why wasn't the chain match the main event? Because that was the most violent match on the show. That didn't make sense. Even if it was the semi-main event and you wanted the main event go-home angle or whatever it was, okay, sure. That's different in saying that that's the main event angle, but you could have said that this was the main event match, nothing, eclipsed that chain match. All the other matches were good, but you needed to end with that chain match as the last match. That should have been the last match. It shouldn't have been the second or third or whatever match it was. It was ridiculous that it was there in that position. So I don't know, but anyway, yeah, I'm stuck with this, and I don't know what to think with this, because I think that WWE is honestly, they're trying to build up Jacy Jane, and fair enough, they want her to be a main roster person soon, I guess. So you could see that being a big thing, being a big push to say, oh yeah, she beat Masha Slamovich and she was champ again, whatever. That's cool and whatnot, but it's very much one of those situations where I don't know, it's so shit that no, it doesn't feel, at least to me, anyone, I think, yeah, TNA is the underdog, obviously, but it's just TNA can never get a foot up or a leg up or anything on WWE. Even if they do get a win here and there, it does feel very much well, it doesn't really matter because WWE gets the last laugh sort of thing to an extent. They win the belts, they want the first person to win a belt, cross promotion belt was a NXT person from TNA. Now the next one feels like it's going to be the same thing. So it's just what the heck, bro? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on because, I can't work it out right now. I'm going to have to stew and think. Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. Very interesting stuff here. This is basically a WrestleMania rematch. About to say Bound for Glory, whatever. But yeah, this is going to be fire, obviously. This feud is now starting to cook, and I was thinking about it as well. It's really weird position to kind of be in for Cedric, because he's only got a couple of weeks worth of trying to build up. Everyone knows how legitimate he is, but he needs some serious wins on TV to kind of propel him up a bit, just even if he's gonna lose, at Slammiversary. I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a bit of a second. But, without, having matches and having some big wins up to that show, it's well, it just feels if he's only here for, one match or whatever else it is, well, he's out of the door then, isn't he? He's only here to cut promos and then be out the door, or maybe have one match and then he's out, or two matches and then he's out the door. What? Same thing, even if it does feel at least he's built up, it's something, but then again, it's well, that also sucks, because if you build him up too much, you have that problem of, well, what if he's out the door after this? What are you going to do then? So, you know what I mean? He can't win and he can't have too many matches, because if he beats too many people, well, he can't beat that many people, but still, if he beats too many people, getting some legitimacy up to this event, then that helps him. But if he's not sticking around, that's where it's like, well, what's going on? Is he just going to be here for, for Slammiversary effectively, or until Slammiversary effectively, and then swan on off? Like, I don't know. And what does it do for him to win against Ali? Like, you know what I mean? Like, unless he's sticking around, like, so, like, again, what's the point? Like, unless he's like, gonna stick around, and maybe he wants to go to AEW or whatever. I don't know what he wants to do, but like, again, it feels very much like this is it's an awkward situation where it's like, again, we've got a person, and they're not under contract, or they haven't really signed here. They're just kind of here, and they're on a handshake. I mean, Ali was kind of on a handshake for a long period of time, but it kind of felt like he was dedicated for a good series. Like he won the title in his opening match, or his first match, or whatever it was, which was like insane and crazy. But again, like, it was one of those things that, now you feel like, oh, well, he's got to be here for a few months at least. He's going to be here for 6 months or whatever it's going to be. He's not going to just wander away and disappear, And that's the thing, like, again, same with Mustafa, and same with, like, this whole thing. Like, TNA treats a lot of these guys really well. And, like, I actually kind of want to do a big discussion about every single wrestler that's come from the, either WCW, WWE, or wherever, whatever, another company where they kind of dropped the ball on them, or didn't really know what to do with them, and all of that sort of stuff, and said, hey, here's a platform, here's an opportunity, because people forget how many people, literally hundreds, probably thousands of people, that TNA has given the platform and an opportunity to. And that's in the end what this is all about. So if Cedric is coming in just to lose to Mustafa, okay, cool. Like, see you later, bye type thing in some ways. But I would love it if he sticks around. I would, even if he loses and then, he goes away for a little while and then maybe comes back and then starts doing stuff for the X Division title or something like that. I don't know, but that's kind of what I want to see. I think he's really talented, and I think he would fit really well in TNA. And I feel like, again, I have said this a million times, but AEW is bloated as all hell, and where the heck do you fit in? Like, you could fit in with the Hurt Syndicate, or whatever they're calling themselves now, but then it's like, well, again, so what? It's sort of like the same thing that you've already kind of done. Like, what else can you do with that? Instead of doing that, you could do something else, or, achieve something else. Like, and again, like, yes, you might say, oh, well, here I am saying he'd be great in the X Division, so that's like saying he'd be great in the mid card or whatever. Yeah, but still, like, the difference between somebody going over to AEW and being, like, basically lost in the shuffle of their mid card, and not really being anyone, and like having a good debut, but then just like disappearing, is like completely different from somebody being like, okay, you're now in TNA, and now you're one of the pillars of this division, and you're probably going to win the title soon, or you're probably going to be in major feuds at least for the title, or you're going to, find your place at some point down the road. And again, he could be like 6 months away or whatever it is. He could go to AEW for a few weeks or for a few months or whatever else it is. He could do whatever he wants. He could go to New Japan. I don't know, dude. But again, it does feel like this was set up for Ali in some ways to get his WrestleMania like win back or whatever it was. So that's kind of like where I feel like it could be. It'd be kind of interesting in some ways to see these guys tag team together, but I don't know. I don't think you're gonna see that in some ways. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, interesting in some ways. But I definitely think that Ali's winning after thinking through it, because it's like, well, even if Cedric's sticking around, it's like, well, what else is he gonna do? Like he could like do some X Division stuff, or he could start like looking to be, you know, in the other divisions. But what you know. So for now, I think, yeah, we're gonna move on for now. I think anyway. Next is the Elegance brand versus the Inspiration. I feel like this is pretty much just a foregone conclusion. But the problem with, like, and I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said, and I'm going to have to say it 1,000,000 more times. There's only like 2 friggin' teams in the friggin' division. So it's like, well, if you're gonna put the belts on the Inspiration, which is the thing that I think that they might be gonna do, it's like, well, so what? Who are they gonna feud with besides the Elegance brand? There isn't anyone for them to feud with. I mean, like, Harley Hudson and Maya Grace are there, but again, that's basically a Franken team, and they're baby faces. So, like, unless you're gonna turn the Inspiration heel, I don't know. Like, what? I really don't know. And again, like, yes, again, you could friggin' well start saying, oh, well, let's, inject some more teams, and they just hired a couple new young wrestlers there, and they could be another Franken team and whatever else, and all of this stuff. So yeah, sure, whatever. And they could form some other teams in the division. But as I keep saying, that this tag team division never seems to work. It never ever seems to work. It's just so ridiculous, and it's just, it never goes anywhere. It's just like, pass the belts to us, pass the belts back to you, pass the belts to whoever's next, pass the belt. It never feels like it's a real, like, big accomplishment that much, or that it's really leading someone somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, Ash does feel like she's going somewhere, kind of, but that's in spite of kind of being the tag team champion. Like, it really doesn't make any sense for her to be like that. It kind of makes sense for her to have been like just a champion on her own, like, and having this elegant sort of brand thing going along, and them helping her to succeed more so, I guess, or whatever. So yeah, the whole idea is to, like, of the faction is to spread this elegance brand, which is not really a brand. It's like an idea and a concept. It's like trying to advertise in some ways this perfume or whatever, but it's not a perfume. It's this brand called Elegance, and all the wrestlers are in this. Yeah, I'd call it a faction now. That's called the Elegance brand, and they're all meant to be really elegant and whatnot, and da 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 da. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, and the thing is, like, I really don't care. Like, that's the problem. Like, the tag team titles just feel like they're so unimportant that, like, again, this match, like, the stakes are nothing effectively, because it's just like, whoever wins, whatever, they're gonna go on and do whatever with the tag team titles. Again, if the Elegance brand, I think that's a very big if the Elegance brand somehow retains them, what are they gonna do? They're going to continue to feud with the Inspiration, and they're going to continue to feud with Myla Grace and Harley Hudson, because Spitfire got broken up, and what the frick are they even doing anymore? It doesn't even feel like they're on the roster right now, because they're not even, like, being featured. And again, that's the problem. There's not, like, there are so many great people on the roster. It is pretty stacked, and it is hard to sort of break through sometimes. But again, and a lot of the breaks would only come for one person. So it really feels like, hey, one of them kind of might need to turn heel or something like that. Because again, like Masha is the top babyface right now. And it's like, well, maybe that's not going to be the case in a few months or whatever it's going to be. But again, like then you're just going to go up to face the champion, and like that's gonna probably change at a moment's notice, because as I said before, WWE have an ADHD problem where they change the belts every few minutes that they get a shiny new toy or whatever it is, and it's like, oh, okay, we had this crazy idea, and now we have this idea, and okay, we're gonna go down that route now, or whatever it is, like we suddenly got Ricky Starks, oh, and we got Ethan Page, and whatever it was. Oh, well, we wanted to put the belt on Ethan Page or something, but now we've got Ricky Starks, so now we're going to put the belt on Ricky Starks. Oh, no, wait, we still want to do something with Ethan Page, so let's flip-flop that back, or whatever. Like, it doesn't seem like they have a solid, like, okay, we're going to do this, okay, then we're going to do this for a few months, and then we're going to do this. It feels like, oh, shiny new thing, oh, like, and it does feel like, yes, you might be listening to the crowd or whatever in some ways, of being like, we want this, which is good. But again, you need to be like, okay, they want that. How do we give it to them? And how do we make it, something that's not just, oh, shiny new thing, like, let's do this right now, right here, right now, or whatever it is, or next week, or next month, or whatever it is. Like, let's wait. Let's build that up. Let's go, okay, how does this person, go from underdog to the top dog, or whatever it is, or wherever they're at to wherever the champion is, So again, like, there's none of that with this division, because again, there's like two friggin' teams, and both the teams are babyfaces. So in some ways, you start thinking, well, maybe they should friggin' well leave the titles on the Elegance brand, because again, it's like, well, even if they don't have that many people to feud with, at least all the teams' baby faces. I don't know. Like if the Inspiration win it, who are they going to face? They've got no one to face. So it's silly in some ways. But again, I still feel like they should vacate them still in some ways, because again, it's like, well, I don't know, just focus on other things and not have these titles, or have some sort of other mid-card title, or whatever else it is, I don't know. Something else, so that the girls don't have to, they don't have to put up with this, and they don't have to probably be putting up with maybe being put back on the pre-show, or whatever it is. And yes, the pre-show is an opportunity in some ways to get, people to come in, but it's usually not like they get a whole lot of effort and time. All right, I'm going to move on, because I'm sick of talking about this, and like I said, I don't care enough. Tessa Blanchard versus Indy Hartwell. Wow. Okay. So, again, I kind of feel like ever since Tessa kind of lost to Marsha, she has kind of peaked, like, in TNA. And I kind of feel like they've been, like, sort of using her almost like a TNA legend in some ways, or a TNA All-Star, or a TNA icon of some sort. Like, she was the top dog. She's, like, one of the best, out there. Now they're kind of giving her these angles where she's, like, kind of passing the torch to the next generation, kind of, that sort of thing. So I kind of feel like that's where this is going. In some regards, this is what at least I feel like. And there's not a lot to go behind that in some ways, but that's kind of like the way that I've seen things. She was moved down to kind of like be more of a attraction wrestler sort of thing. She had that match with Ariana Grace, which was more of an attraction sort of match. It was more of a mid-card
sort of match, but it was a big time match in some ways, so it was definitely more of an attraction to come and see, what's going on. And then she got injured, and I think this is her like this will be her first big singles match back after that. So, but yeah, like she beat Ariana, but now it sort of feels like they've put her in this. Well, it's hard to not to see her in that position as well, because it's like she is a former champion. So it's like, well, you start saying she's the former champion, so she's already kind of at that, level of being like, and she just like recently or somewhat recently had a big time match against Marsha, and like, and then before that she just had a big match with Jordan Grace. So it's like she's had these big matches. Like she had that big match to come back. She's had that big match to sort of like feel like she's still in that like talking point of being like the world champion or the Knockouts world champion. So that's where they're kind of trying to put her. They're trying to put her on sort of par with the Knockouts champion, but she's not the champion. So they're trying to, if anyone beats her or if anyone, works with her, they get kind of pushed up to that level. And in this regard, like, that's why I'm thinking, like, it makes sense for Indy Hartwell to kind of beat Tessa here, because that would make sense with what I said before of saying, hey, let's see friggin' some of these gals, Indy and some other people, going up against, or at least like eventually going up against whoever's going to be the Knockouts champion. And I do feel like it probably will be JC Jane. So like, then you have that whole, like, again, like, it does suck again, because you're going to have another like fairly short, probably like run of like, here she wins at Slammiversary, which is like in the 7th month now, and I think Bound for Glory is usually in October, which is like the 10th month. So she's only going to be having the title for like 3 months, which is really short. Like, so that's not a long reign. But then again, like I keep saying, like, WWE has that ADHD booking of like, they don't know what to kind of do sometimes, or it feels like they don't. Like, at least with TNA, when I feel like they don't seem to know what they're doing or whatever else it is, or I can't tell what they're doing, it's more because WWE basically said, this is what we want, and then they went, oh shit, okay, plus we want to try to fulfill this other thing. And that's probably, again, why Marsha and Kelly happened when it did, was because it's like, well, we know that Marsha is going to lose the belt, so if they're ever going to face each other for the belt now, it's going to have to be now, and like, then we're going to have to wrap these things up. And like, the whole fact that Ash won like a chance at the title, like, that's going to be like hanging around for like a long time now as well, because it doesn't make sense for two heels to go up against each other. And I don't know why they did that. That was like really silly, unless they are going to do a triple threat of some sort of something. I don't know. Or some sort of triple threat rematch. I don't know. That would be even weirder, because like, then you might feel like, well, let's put it back on a TNA person or whatever else it is. I don't know. Doesn't make much sense, I guess, really. So, but yeah. We are going to have to find out when we find out, I guess. Because, again, like, I could be wrong, but, like, that is, like, me as, like, a former wrestler, me as a person who does a lot of writing, so I write stories like these. So I understand the art of, like, storytelling in this regard, of saying, hey, where do we go from here? Why do we book this way? Where's the story going that way? You know, like, there's only so many stories you can kind of tell. So, you know, and ultimately you're telling a hero's journey story, or you're telling a like redemption style story. You know, that's a hero's story in many ways. You know, somebody loses their way, da 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 da, turns to the dark side, kind of. That's kind of like Darth Vader's story, actually. Turns to the dark side, then sort of redeems himself, you know, like, and then, you know, whatever. But yeah, like again, like, the show is absolutely stacked. Some of the stuff, like I question some of the stuff, but again, like, you can't argue with the magnitude of some of these matches. Like, the triple threat, I don't like, for the title, I don't think that that's insignificant. I think it's definitely significant enough to be the main event. I don't think that Masha or versus JC would be the main, like, potentially be the main event, especially with such a short build up. Like, I don't see that against, like, Grace, with that being a very, very, very far out shoot, which I don't think is going to happen. It's one of those things of saying, well, you know, so what kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah, Slammiversary versus Grace again. Don't really think much of that. So you could, like, actually, I just thought you could kind of have this thing where you've kind of had it for a while, where people have been coming to TNA to challenge Masha for the title, which in some ways makes sense, but in many other ways it doesn't make a lot of sense, because it's like, it's not their title to challenge for. It would make somewhat more sense if Masha had the belt, and then you had all these people, all these heel people coming after Masha to beat Masha for the belt that they have. So that could make sense, I think. But as I said before, it kind of feels like maybe that would fit in with the NXT ADHD booking. But, you know, as I said, JC Jane has only just basically won it. She's only held it for like 30 odd days. So, though then again, I'm just going to quickly try to look through most of this. I don't want to go too far back. So this is like, I don't want to go past like 5 to 10 years or whatever. So there's one that's over like 200 days there. That's Roxanne Perez. There's one that's over, another one that's just before that, Lila Valkyria, which is just over 100 days, or just whatever. Tiffany Stratton, which is just over 100 days. Again, Tiffany now being on the main roster. So is Lyra, Roxanne, and Julia, and Stephanie, all the last few champions. Was vacated. Indy Hartwell was actually the next last person to hold it. She held it for 31 days. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Roxanne Perez, just over 100 days. Then 400 days, Mandy Rose. That's insane. That's back in 2021. I'm not going to go back any further than that, I don't think. So a lot of the reigns are 30, 42, 63. Yeah, so those are the other reigns. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit more, but still like around maybe 90 to 100 days or whatever it is in the last few years. So not even a couple of months, 3 months or so worth of title runs. And again, you start saying, well, JC might be going to the main roster. So again, like, they want to unburden her with that title and say, okay, let's put you in. And again, like, you've seen Masha already beat her. So it's like, well, kind of thing. We've already seen her win against her. But then again, you could swerve people. Well, not swerve people, but you could go the other way again because it's like, well, she has her, tag team partners, so they could help screw Marsha out of the win, which does suck a lot. Which I could kind of feel like you could start saying, okay, let's get the other knockouts in here and start having a big old brawl or whatever else it is outside. Because again, like even if like JC does win it, it's like, oh, okay, well, then you've got those people that are there that are kind of going to be the next kind of contenders, sort of thing, and that sort of thing. So it's like, well, this is what's next, type thing. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that's my final thoughts on all of it. I think I just had that thought when I was just like thinking through it, so I just thought, oh, I'll get this last little thought out. But that is where I am at with the show at the moment. I kind of feel like maybe there'll be maybe couple of other matches announced, but again, it already feels like they've got most of the big time matches kind of announced. I kind of feel like it's time to no longer kind of like announce too many more matches or whatever else it is, because it is like, well, too many matches sort of gets too many. Like at these big shows at Slammiversary and Bound for Glory, you should have a few more, or Rebellion, whatever else, etc. But overall you should have like a fewer matches, only the really important matches for the titles, or like super major feuds. They're, either leading to title shots or whatever. Or there are things that are, this is, leading to this person being up the, because if you're not pushing people up the card with some of these things or trying to showcase them in that light and saying that this person or these handful of people are really important, it's like, well, so what? And you need a story for these people. You can't just have random match ahoy, like, yeah, you've got to, like, unless it's like somebody like Santana coming back and saying, hey, I'm back, bitches, like, that's different to saying, hey, we've just signed a new talent or whatever it is, or re-signed a talent. Here he is, and now he's going to have his first match back right here, right now, and that's different. But, like saying, this is out of nowhere, just like, here's a random match because they hit each other, last week or whatever it was, or whatever, they stared at each other last week or whatever it was, like, so what? Like, that could be figured out on an episode of Impact, or that could be built up to at the next pay-per-view after this. So give things time to breathe sometimes, and like build these things up. Don't just go, oh, here it is. You've got to now start really building, and you've got a couple of weeks to do it, really building some of these other things. Like, the main event's probably going to sell itself now with the build that they kind of have. So you don't really need to do a whole lot with it. You just need to land the plane, so to speak. With the rest needs a fair amount of build. Like maybe Cedric versus Ali doesn't need much build. That's already kind of there. I think like Marsha versus JC kind of needs a fair bit of build. Like maybe the Nemesis, Hardys, First Class, and the Rascals ladder match doesn't need much build. Like Leon versus Moose, they just had that great promo with Leon this week, so I don't really think it needs that much build. You just need to sort of have little obstacles in Leon's way, and that'll do it. You really need to build up this like thing between the Elegance brand and Inspiration, like, and then you need to build this thing up with like Tessa versus Indy. So it's already starting to get there, but it's like you need those few other little elements to kind of take it to the next level. But yeah, those are the things that I think, need more build or want more build or whatever it is. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. And that's where I'm at with the show right now. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. It is sending my voice pretty hoarse to go through this, but it is how it is. So if you've stuck with me this long, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you will join me again in another one.